Good evening and welcome to the United States of Africa broadcast. I'm Akosua Prempe, coming to you live with a message that will shape the future of our continent. Tonight, we bring you an exclusive, in-depth interview with the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The stakes are high. The man leading the progressive popular revolution is opening up to the world, addressing his critics and laying bare the true battle for African sovereignty. In this pivotal discussion, President Traoré confronts the hard truths about the war in his country, revealing the foreign interests that actively sought to prolong the conflict. He discusses the catastrophic state of the Burkinabé army he inherited, barely 100,000 rounds of ammunition for an entire nation, and the bold, self-reliance strategy he is using to rearm, train, and build a defense industry from the ground up. This isn't just a political interview, it's a masterclass on decolonizing our minds and our militaries. He explains why the war is not just against terrorism, but a fight to seize our resources and prevent our development. Watch now as President Traoré breaks down the logic of encirclement by foreign powers and their African allies and confidently declares, "We will win this war."
The President of Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, once again opens up to the national and international press. Tonight, we will have the opportunity to interview the head of state about his vision, the paths of the progressive popular revolution, and the daily actions taken for the sovereignty, freedom, and development of Burkina Faso. Good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening.
Thank you for honoring us by receiving us here at the Kuluba Palace in Ouagadougou for this major interview. So, dear viewers, the format of this interview is a special one. In total, 10 journalists will take turns in groups of 2 to ask their questions to the head of state. 5 areas will be covered in the discussions. These are crucial areas, specifically encompassing security and defense, politics and society, diplomacy and the AES, economy and development, and then, finally, regional and international geopolitics. Each group of journalists will have between 15 and 20 minutes to engage with the head of state. My role this evening is that of moderator, in charge of keeping order during the debates. Mr. President, with your permission, we will now welcome the first group of journalists. They are Hervé Dapa from BF1 Television and Asmaudao from C360 Television. Good evening, dear colleague. You have 20 minutes to speak with the head of state on matters related to defense and security.
Good evening, Your Excellencies.
Good evening.
Some of your critics often bring up a statement you made, a statement that dates back to the very beginning of your time in power, when you said that if everything was put in place, 3 months would be enough to move toward the end of the war. And these critics say that today, 3 years later, the war is still not completely over. Mr. President, this evening, how do you respond to them?
All right, thank you very much. And thank you all for coming for this interview. It's true, that's what we would have wished for. But things did not go as we thought they would. And I said, if everything is put in place, then there are several perspectives to consider that need to be implemented in order to achieve this goal within that time frame. But not everything was implemented as we had hoped. First, adversity. So, as soon as we came to power, we had hoped that we would be allowed to work quickly and make progress. Unfortunately, some people approached us and wanted us to go along with their agenda because their goal was not for the war to end anytime soon. I'm talking about certain foreign forces that were present on our soil. We had heated debates with diplomats from elsewhere on the issue, but no one wanted us to move toward ending this war. We understood this from the message. If people came to us and told us that we had to accept their support for the terrorists while also supporting us, it means exactly what it sounds like. This is a war being deliberately maintained. So we quickly understood and we got rid of all the forces that were present here, whether they were French forces, American forces, and we realized that the real struggle would come afterward. The second thing was also we believed that we at least had a minimum stock of weapons and ammunition. Today I can tell you what I found in stock, for example. Altogether in Burkina Faso, there were less than 100,000 Kalashnikov rounds. And as for weapons, we barely had 100. How could we possibly wage war? We had to re-equip ourselves, reinforce the army in terms of personnel, weaponry, and everything else, which means that the 3-month objective would have been possible if these prerequisites had been met, but there was nothing. We were not prepared for war, neither in terms of equipment nor in terms of manpower.
Precisely, Mr. President, as you just said, when you took power, to put it bluntly, there were more men than ammunition in the Burkinabé army. And today, where do we stand with the armament program for that army? And what are the signs that it is gradually gaining strength?
Very well. As I said, I can't fully describe the situation that existed. It was catastrophic. And as I mentioned, you can investigate for yourselves. There may even be soldiers in this room who were on the front lines without weapons. That actually happened in our army. So these are situations. We thought it was just, I wouldn't say bad faith, but an incomprehensible situation. For us, there were weapons available, but they refused to equip the troops with them. But when we were confronted with reality, we quickly resolved to first try to arm the personnel who were already there. And that was both the crown and the banner, because many powerful countries refused to sell us weapons. So we turned to those who were willing to sell us weapons. Very quickly, we equipped ourselves, we recruited the VDPs, and we were able to pay for everything we needed. We developed an equipment plan for a build-up in strength. And as you can see, for the past 2 years now, the equipment has started to arrive. It's still not finished. More is still coming in. Maybe in a few days, you'll see even more new equipment being presented, which is mainly support equipment. Because first, the infantry had to be equipped so that every man could be issued a weapon. That was a major challenge. We've achieved that. We're still recruiting, as you can see. Every year, we recruit between 10,000 and 15,000 men. That was a considerable effort. Because whatever people say, the adversity is there. The number of terrorists is increasing because the imperialists are recruiting a lot of mercenaries who come to Burkina Faso to fight. So we have to adapt to the situation. And now we have entered our third phase, which is no longer about buying, but about manufacturing ourselves. And we're also working on that. So that's what building up our strength means. We need to be well equipped, but also create a defense industry. That's very important.
In a few months or a few years, we'll have our soldiers here using weapons made in Burkina.
Of course. We have intellectual capacity. There are resources. All it took was to look for them, and there you have it. We are diligently working on this. You will surely be pleasantly and genuinely surprised. So, we can only truly and unequivocally win this. What else really would we possibly and realistically do? Rest assured, we are not going anywhere and we will win this war. I told you that the threat is constantly changing, but we are adapting. And the strength of the Burkinabé army is that it is one of the most resilient armies in the world. The pressure that Burkina Faso is under, I don't think there is any other country on earth right now facing this kind of pressure. But we are holding on. We are fighting, and we are constantly adapting to the threat, and we understand where the threat comes from, how it manifests itself. That's the most important thing. And right now, I can assure you that soon we will be talking about a black albino who will appear and you will see. Don't ask me what that means. I think you'll understand later. The war will end, and very soon.
Precisely to win this war, as you just said, we need weapons and we also need men. Above all, determined men. Determination, as you know, is the major game changer. That's what makes the difference in any war. Right now, as we speak, what exactly is the morale of our troops on the ground?
You have very well pointed out the heart of the problem is human resources, determined men. It's not just about the countries or the equipment. You need determined men. And if you notice, we are in the process of building a quality army. And it's not uncommon that often when it's determined that a unit leader or a unit has failed in their mission, they are dismissed and prosecuted. This has happened several times, and it will continue this way. If you sign up to be a soldier, you must accomplish the mission because the mission is sacred to us. And the other thing is that despite the pressure, despite the challenges, the men continue to fight and are very resilient. If today you catch a Burkinabe soldier and ask him, do you want other people to come fight in your place or come help you? They will never tell you yes. They would rather die. It's at this level that you can judge their morale. They are ready, always ready, despite the situation. No matter what battle we lose, we will always hold the ground. That's what's very important in the mindset of the soldiers. So morale is at its highest. People didn't expect to reach this level of equipment, but they have. So they're giving it their all. And I can only congratulate and thank all those who are fighting. It's very important.
So, Mr. President, in your address, you talked about a war that takes different forms, that is evolving. We keep asking ourselves this question: who is attacking Burkina Faso?
It's not just terrorism. It's a war to seize our resources and prevent us from developing. I once explained this in a speech, I believe. I was saying that if we manage to properly exploit our subsoil resources, to process what we are extracting here, what we are producing, there will be unemployment over there in their countries. It's a battle. They plunder our resources in order to survive. So it's a war for independence. We must wage this war to be fully independent, to decide our own development and our own path. So that's what it's about right now.
Mr. President, as you just said, we're talking about the security and defense of Burkina Faso. Let's talk about your personal security. You just mentioned it a moment ago. The pressure is enormous. It's intense. The danger comes from everywhere. Mr. President, just in 2025, there have been several coup attempts that were foiled. Mr. President, do you ever feel afraid?
Thank you. I think that's the only strength I have. I'm not afraid because I trust all of you. That's the first thing. You have to trust the people because it's the people who entrusted us with this mission. And I trust the people that they will understand. And that's why we don't hesitate to stand before the people to explain the situation to them and tell them what's going on. And that helps maintain a very good relationship. That's the first thing. The second thing, as I said, is that there was a mindset that needed to be developed within our own forces. That's very important. Right now, this mentality, people understand why they're fighting. If you look a few years back, many officers in the field didn't know why they were fighting. But if we know why we're fighting, who we're up against, and why they're fighting, there's that pressure, and people understand better. And that's why we immediately created the Institute and the Higher Military School, so that we could train our own soldiers and instill in them what we want. Remember one thing, if you let your forces be trained by other powers, they put into their heads whatever they want. They indoctrinate them as they please, and it's easier to manipulate them. Here in Burkina right now, that's exactly what's bothering many imperialist powers. They can't infiltrate our army. All these units that have been created, all these men who are here, no one came from elsewhere to train them. We are built on our own field experience and we trained them ourselves. I personally took part in the training of some of these forces at the very beginning. So that's already a second strength. And the other strength is that if you have a mission, a goal for your country, you must not be afraid. If you're afraid, you hesitate. If you hesitate, you compromise. And once compromise sets in, you're done for.
Earlier, you listed a number of factors that make you feel reassured. I insist because history matters too. It's history that guides us. These imperialist forces, they are real. In 1961, they were responsible for the fate of Patrice Lumumba in the DRC. In 1972, they got rid of Kwame Nkrumah in another way. And then in 1987, they got rid of Thomas Sankara, again with internal enemies and sometimes with the complicity of certain neighbors. You know what they say, Mr. President? The first duty of a revolutionary is to stay alive in order to continue the struggle. Mr. President, can you please reassure all these numerous people, all these many men and women gathered here and indeed elsewhere who are truly beginning to hope that you will continue to stay alive and well?
They always manipulate from within. We are very well aware of that. And also, one of our duties is to take part in our own security. It's not about saying today that I'm the head of state and I just entrust security to other people. No, everyone takes part. I myself take part. That's why I say it's not just a matter for those who are close to me. It's a matter for the whole people. And security is not just about the men in charge and everything operational. It's a whole system. It's also about behaviors, ways of living. We have to avoid many things that perhaps mistakes were made in the past. We have read a lot about all those whom imperialism has taken down, and we have learned many lessons. That's why we say we won't let things repeat themselves. We will anticipate. Even if people interpret it however they want, we will anticipate. Because we have understood the message, the hope that exists. We will do everything to always anticipate the actions of imperialism.
Mr. President, from the perspective of the journalist that I am, I feel that the AES countries are being encircled. When I look at Côte d'Ivoire, for example, there is a military camp in Odiané, near Mali and Burkina Faso. Senegal is setting up units at the border with Mali, not to mention Benin as well, which borders Burkina Faso and Niger. Mr. President, do you personally share this particular point of view? Do you, in fact, see things in this exact way?
I think that when you decide to make a revolution, you have to be prepared for this kind of adversity. It's a logic that surrounds us. It's a logic that tries to bring us down. It's logical. As I said, it's a battle. They are fighting for their own interests. And it's up to us, if we've decided to make the revolution, to do everything we can to break this encirclement. You see, in Africa, we're used to not having a strong army to begin with. There is no state if there is no strong army. But well, that was the system. As I once told the soldiers, they came to flatter us. No, you shouldn't arm yourselves. Even recently, I think in an interview, an American general said it again, that our countries don't need to be militarized. That's their view. We're like children, they're the ones who have to come and sit down, provide security for us. And many countries are in this situation. They don't build an army. And when the situation arises, it's chaos. We, on the other hand, are building a strong army. That's why I said we fight in Burkina Faso, and we train in Burkina Faso. That's very important. What was it like before? Every time foreign forces, everyone comes to train your soldiers. They treat you as if you are worth nothing. Today, many forces, foreigners are now looking to come and train with us. You wouldn't believe it. The greatest powers are seeking to come and train with us. We are here. But it's not just about training. They want to learn how we do things, how we operate, who trains us. But today, no one knows how the special forces are trained, how they are prepared, how they are equipped. Why do we believe that it's others who should come and train us? They didn't invent something. They thought it through. We have brains too. So we need a powerful army to face adversity. They will keep surrounding us because there will always be African heads of state like that who will allow it. Because their hands are tied, they always betray. They will always agree to let the imperialists come to their countries to attack their own brothers. If you accept the revolution, you have to embrace this concept. This will exist. So there's nothing we can do about it, we deal with it, but it's up to us to prepare so that the encirclement becomes meaningless, so that they can never achieve their goal. That's all. So we deal with it.
Very recently, ECOWAS held a forum of chiefs of defense staff of the Friends of Africa. Mali and Burkina Faso were not there, nor was Niger. We sense a lack of solidarity. You who are at the top of the state, what can you tell us about that?
Well, it's not a lack of solidarity. Keep in mind that this is a confederation, not a federation. In some respects, we do a lot of things together, in tandem, but the charter states that countries can decide on their own relationships and what they can do. We can't tell one country not to collaborate with another country, no. We're not at that stage yet, to begin with. We're in the process of consolidating the Confederation in many areas: development, defense, and diplomacy. And after that, we'll move on to the Confederation. These are steps. So Niger can take part in meetings. The Confederation is not closed off. We are open, we interact with everyone. We are very Pan-Africanist. We are truly open to integration, to everything there is, but with principles. All right.
This is about defense and security. We'll let you have one last question.
Thank you, Sanyon. The question I'm about to ask, forgive me, is not about defense or security, but about your relationship with us, the media. Mr. President, do you have a particular problem with the media, with us journalists? I say this because it seems there has been a misunderstanding. I'm talking about national media, not international media, some of which have ended up in the trash for some time now. That's a fact. There are no national media. It seems there was a misunderstanding at the beginning, and there's something, a kind of fog that remains. How do you analyze the situation, Mr. President?
You know I'm not a hypocrite. There was a misunderstanding. There was some confusion at the beginning, but today, I must say, I really commend the media for their professional work. We must avoid following the work of imperialism. Of course, many among you were trained by them. That's it, you went to the white man's school, as we like to say. They're the ones who trained you in journalism. So I don't often blame you when people try to act like them. But I speak so that people become aware that this is about our homeland. Look this morning, for example, read the headlines in the newspapers in France. They might tell you that there was a mobilization to put pressure on the Prime Minister. They won't tell you that there was a march against the government or anything like that. But if it were in Burkina, you would say there was a march against the government. Do you understand? The French used to call us, and still call us, putiche, gente. Those are French words. But journalists also called us putiche, gente, so why follow them? With our eyes closed, it's still slavery. I want us to move away from that. Every state must fight for its own interests. Journalists fight for their own interests. So why shouldn't we fight for our interests in Africa? So that's it. It's not just the journalists. I also see some intellectuals who are on TV panels in Africa. When they speak, you ask questions, but is he African? Well, genetically, he's not Aqua. He's not with us, that's a fact, a setback. Yes, we need to decolonize our mindsets, our ways of doing things. Everyone must fight for their homeland. You might have information that is perhaps true and accurate, but you decide not to release it because it could harm national defense, security, cohesion, and so on. That is a sovereign decision because you want to protect your country. But we don't say that as soon as there is information, it must be released. No, that's not how it works. And very often, as we like to say, journalists aren't interested in trains that arrive on time. It's the train that stops that gets their attention. You know that? Oh yes, but we need to avoid that. Now I want you to take an interest in the trains that arrive on time.
All right, I'd like to leave you with a phrase that is the motto of a great European club. It's this one. Our jersey may be stained with blood, mud, and sweat, but never with shame. That's all I wish for you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you greatly.
That was President Traoré delivering a powerful message of resilience and self-reliance. If you are passionate about a united, sovereign Africa, we need your help to spread this vital message. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, comment your thoughts below, and share this video to help connect all Africans and promote unity across the continent. We want to hear what you think of this interview. Leave your comments below and answer these 2 questions. Number 1. President Traoré stated that the real war is not just terrorism, but a fight to seize Africa's resources and prevent development. Do you agree? What is the biggest non-military threat to African sovereignty today? Number 2, he spoke about the need to decolonize our mindsets and media. What is one practical step you believe African youth can take right now to stop following the work of imperialism and truly fight for our own interests? Thank you for watching the United States of Africa broadcast. Good night.